Variant, Standard, Title, Part 1. I came with a toolbox. And left carrying her secrets. ID, 28451. She opened the door before I could knock twice. A faint scent of cedar and rain drifted out from behind her, like she'd been living in a place that refused to forget the weather. Come in, she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it didn't have to be. It had the kind of calm that made you straighten your back without knowing why. I stepped inside with my old metal toolbox, heavier than usual today, and tried not to stare. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that hummed around you. She moved across the room, barefoot, with her sleeves rolled up just enough to show the soft edge of time on her wrists. The shelf in the study, she said, pointing. It keeps leaning. I thought I could fix it, but… She gave a small shrug. Not embarrassment, just honesty. I nodded. I'll take a look. The floor creaked once as I followed her, my boots too loud in the stillness. She walked slower than most people, like she'd learned that silence could say more than words. Every movement was deliberate, folding a strand of hair behind her ear, adjusting her blouse, glancing at me for a half-second longer than necessary. In the study, the air smelled faintly of paper and jasmine. Afternoon light fell across her face, and for a moment she didn't look at me, she looked through the window, as if remembering something private. I set down the toolbox, the metallic clink breaking the stillness. This'll be quick, I said, even though I didn't want it to be. She smiled then, just one corner of her mouth lifting. Take your time, she said softly. Her tone made the room feel smaller. As I worked, she lingered nearby, pretending to read a book she never turned a page of. I could feel her there, the soft rustle when she shifted her weight, the quiet sigh she tried to hide. When my screwdriver slipped, her hand reached out, almost instinctively, brushing mine. Her skin was cool at first, then warm, the kind of warmth that stays. We both paused. She pulled back slowly, eyes catching mine, her composure bending for the smallest second. Sorry, she whispered. I shook my head. It's fine. But it wasn't fine. It was something else entirely, a current that neither of us asked for, running through the space between our words. I finished tightening the last screw, though I barely remembered doing it. When I turned, she was closer than before. You're good with your hands, she said quietly. It wasn't a tease. It sounded like something she hadn't meant to say out loud. I smiled, unsure what to do with the air between us. Comes with the job. Her eyes searched my face for a moment, unreadable, before drifting to the floor. Sometimes I think things break just to be touched again, she murmured. The silence after that line was heavy, not uncomfortable, just real. The kind of silence that could have lasted forever if not for the sound of a car pulling up outside. Tires on wet gravel. She blinked, the spell cracking. My husband's early, she said quietly. The word hung there, sharp as glass. I glanced toward the window, headlights slicing through the rain. When I looked back, she was already halfway to the door, smoothing her hair like nothing had happened. Thank you for fixing it, she said, not turning around. I picked up my toolbox, hand trembling just enough to notice. Outside, the rain had started again, slow, patient drops on the tin roof. As I left, her voice echoed faintly down the hall, calm and practiced. But beneath it, something else lingered, a question neither of us had the courage to ask. And for reasons I couldn't explain, I knew I'd be back. Variant, Standard, Title, Part 2, What Stayed After the Rain. ID, 28452. The next time I saw her, the rain had already dried, but the smell of it lingered, like the air remembered what it was supposed to feel. She called again, said another thing needed fixing. She didn't say what, and I didn't ask. When she opened the door, her smile was smaller this time, practiced, polite. But something in her eyes still held that quiet flicker of the moment we'd shared before the headlights cut through it. The light in the hallway, she said, her tone clipped. It keeps flickering. I can take a look, I answered, and she nodded, stepping aside. The house felt the same, soft hum of silence, faint scent of jasmine and paper, but there was something underneath it now, an awareness. As I reached for the light fixture, she hovered behind me, close enough that I could feel her breath against the back of my neck. She caught herself, stepped back, then spoke, almost too casually. "You don't say much." I smiled without turning. "You do enough talking for both of us." She laughed quietly. "My husband used to say that." Then her voice dimmed. "He travels a lot now." It was the first time she'd mentioned him beyond a word. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. "I used to think space would make things easier," she continued, her voice thinner now. "But sometimes space just makes noise louder." Her confession hung in the air, uninvited but impossible to ignore. I tightened the last screw, the light humming steady above us. "There," I said, stepping down from the stool. She looked up, testing the bulb. "You make it look simple." I met her gaze. "It's not," I said, and she knew I wasn't talking about the light. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was full, too full. She reached out, brushing a bit of dust off my shoulder, her fingers pausing just long enough to feel the weight of what she was doing. I swallowed, pretending not to notice. "Guess it's fixed now." Her hand fell away. "Maybe," she said softly. "But it'll probably start flickering again." Either of us smiled. I gathered my tools, but she didn't move. Her posture was still, as if she was trying to hold the moment before it changed. "You remind me of someone," she said suddenly. "You listen the way he used to." "Who?" I asked. She hesitated. "Someone I shouldn't still think about." Her honesty caught me off guard. I wanted to ask more, but the words tangled somewhere in my chest. She broke eye contact first, walking toward the window. "You'll send me your number, right? In case something else breaks." I nodded. "Yeah. Sure." As I turned to leave, she said quietly, "You shouldn't always come when I call." I paused at the door. "Why not?" Her reflection in the glass gave a small, uncertain smile. "Because you already stay too long." For a second, either of us moved. The air between us was warm, alive, charged with the kind of tension that doesn't need words. Then a clock chimed somewhere in another room, a sound too ordinary for what had just passed. When I finally stepped outside, I didn't look back, but I could still feel her eyes following me through the rain-streaked glass. Variant, standard, title, Part 3, almost enough to touch. ID, 28453. She called again 2 weeks later. Said it was about the kitchen cabinet this time, a hinge that wouldn't sit right. I told myself it was just work, but I knew better the second I saw her standing in the doorway again, hair tied back, light sweater hanging off one shoulder. The air between us already remembered what we'd been trying to forget. Inside, the kettle was whistling, sharp against the silence. She turned it off quickly, as if the sound had given her away. "Tea?" she asked, not meeting my eyes. "Sure." We moved around each other in the small kitchen, every step a near touch. Her shoulder brushed mine once, lightly, enough to make my breath stall. "You always come when something breaks," she said. "Seems like something's always breaking," I answered. She looked up then, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing." Her words lingered, softer than steam rising from the kettle. As I fixed the hinge, she leaned on the counter, watching. "You're too young to be doing this kind of work," she said. "Too young?" She tilted her head. "Too young to look at me the way you do." The screwdriver paused in my hand. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. But she'd already read the answer in my silence. Before I could look away, her phone buzzed on the counter. The sound cut through the air like a warning. She reached for it quickly, glancing at the screen, a name flashing. Her hand trembled just enough to notice before she silenced it. "He calls at the worst times," she murmured. I pretended not to ask, and she pretended not to explain. The moment didn't dissolve, it thickened. The room felt smaller again. I stood to leave, but she stepped closer, just close enough for me to smell the tea on her breath, the faint trace of something floral beneath it. "You missed a screw," she whispered, pointing toward the hinge. I turned back, leaning in beside her to fix it. My arm brushed against hers. She didn't move. Our faces were inches apart now, so close I could see the small scar near her lip, the one she kept touching when she was nervous. "Does it ever stop?" I asked quietly. She blinked. "What?" "Wanting something you know you shouldn't." Her mouth parted like she might answer, but the sound of footsteps on the front porch froze us both. She stepped back too fast, hands smoothing her hair. "It's probably a delivery," she whispered, though we both knew she was guessing. I nodded, heart still pounding. The knock came once, then silence. She didn't open the door right away, just looked at me, caught between fear and something far more dangerous. "Go," she said softly, though her eyes didn't match her voice. I picked up my toolbox, but she caught my wrist before I could turn the knob. Her fingers lingered there, small, trembling, alive. Neither of us spoke. Then she let go, barely above a whisper. "Next time, don't fix it too fast." I stepped out into the fading light, the echo of her touch still burning against my skin, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted anything fixed at all. Variant, standard, title, Part 4, The Line Between Us. ID, 28454. The knock never came again. Whoever it was, they'd gone, leaving only the echo of footsteps fading into the night. She waited by the door, listening, every second stretching longer than it should have. When she finally turned back to me, something had changed. Maybe it was the relief. Maybe it was what came after. "You shouldn't be here," she said, but her voice was softer than the words. "I know." Neither of us moved. The kitchen light hummed faintly, the same one I'd fixed last time, flickering again as if it could feel the weight of us standing there. Her eyes were on me, steady, uncertain, tired of pretending. "I keep thinking about that night," I said. "About how you said space makes the noise louder." Her lips parted slightly, like she'd forgotten how to breathe. "You shouldn't remember things I didn't mean to say." "You meant it." She closed the distance between us in one slow step. "You don't know what I meant." Her breath brushed against my chin, her hand lifted halfway before she stopped herself. I caught her wrist gently, my thumb tracing the pulse beneath her skin, quick, uneven. She didn't pull away. "You'll regret this," she whispered. "Maybe," I said, my voice lower than I intended. "But not tonight." Her laugh came out quiet, almost a sigh. "You talk like someone who's never lost anything." "Maybe I haven't yet." The silence after that was dangerous. I could feel it, the way her chest rose, the way her eyes flicked from my mouth to the space just past my shoulder, like she was searching for a reason not to move closer. Then she did. Her hand reached up, fingers brushing the hair from my forehead. It was such a small gesture, but it carried too much care, hesitation, something unspoken. My own hand found her waist, tentative, as if touching her might break the spell we both built so carefully. She leaned forward, just enough that I could feel the heat of her breath near my cheek. "You don't know what this costs me," she murmured. "Then tell me," I said. Her eyes flickered, guilt, fear, want, all tangled into something she couldn't hide anymore. "Everything," she breathed. Her words hit harder than any touch. I wanted to tell her she didn't have to explain, that I already understood, the husband, the whispers, the line we were about to cross. But all that came out was her name, too quiet to echo. And then, the sound of a car engine outside. Headlights sweeping across the window. She froze. "Go," she said again, but this time her hand was still on me. I didn't move. Her eyes darted to the door, then back to me. "Please!" I should have left. I didn't. Instead, I stepped closer, so close our foreheads nearly touched. "Say you don't want me to." Her lips parted, trembling, her answer caught between truth and self-control. The front door handle turned. Her breath hitched. And in that heartbeat before everything changed, she whispered, "I can't." Morning light slipped through the curtains, pale and cold. I hadn't planned to come back, but plans had stopped mattering a long time ago. The message she'd sent was simple: "We need to talk." Her voice on the phone had been steady, but something in it trembled, the way silence sometimes shakes before it breaks. When she opened the door, she didn't smile this time. Her eyes looked like she hadn't slept, and for a second, I thought she might tell me to leave. Instead, she stepped aside. "I shouldn't have called," she said quietly. "But you did." We stood in the hallway, the same one where everything had started to blur, too close again, as if gravity had its own plans. "I can't keep doing this," she said. "He knows something's wrong." I nodded, even though the word wrong didn't feel right. "Then tell me to stop." Her breath caught. "You think I haven't tried?" The air between us thickened, heavy with every almost touch, every look we'd pretended not to hold too long. I took a step forward. "Then what do you want me to do?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached out, fingertips brushing the edge of my sleeve, the smallest, most dangerous gesture. "I want to forget," she whispered. "But I can't." My hand found hers before I could think. "Then don't." Her eyes closed for a moment, a slow exhale leaving her lips like surrender. "You don't understand. This isn't just about him. It's about me, the part of me that's been gone for years." I brushed a strand of hair from her face, careful, reverent. "Then maybe this isn't about breaking anything. Maybe it's about finding what you lost." She laughed under her breath, not mocking, just tired. "You make it sound simple." "It's not," I said. "But neither is pretending we don't feel this." Our foreheads touched, barely, a quiet collision. Her pulse thudded against my fingers, wild and fragile all at once. The world outside the window disappeared. There was only the hum of her breath, the faint scent of rain still caught in her hair. "Tell me this isn't real," I whispered. She didn't. Her hand came up, resting, variant, standard title, Part 7, What Stayed After Goodbye. ID, 28457. It was weeks before I saw her again. Not because I didn't want to, but because we both needed the silence. The kind that lets wounds breathe before they close. I'd gone back to work, to noise and sawdust and empty hours that felt longer than they should. But every quiet moment had her in it. The smell of jasmine, the echo of her voice, the way she said my name like it carried weight. Then, one evening, my phone buzzed. No words. Just an address. When I got there, the porch light was off, but the door was open. She stood by the window, looking out at the street where rain fell again, softer this time, almost gentle. "You came," she said, turning toward me. "You knew I would." She smiled, small, tired, real. "He's gone. Took a job overseas. Said he'd call when he settled in." Her tone wasn't bitter. Just final. "I didn't call you because of that," she added. "I called because I didn't want the last thing between us to be silence." I nodded, stepping closer, though careful not to rush it. "I wasn't sure what you wanted me to say." "Maybe nothing," she said. "Maybe I just needed you to be here." For a while neither of us spoke. The sound of rain filled the space, soft against the glass. She moved closer until we were inches apart, close enough that I could see the faint reflection of both of us in the window. "You once asked if wanting something you shouldn't ever stops," she whispered. I remembered. "Yeah. It doesn't," she said. "It just changes shape." Her hand reached for mine, slow, uncertain, and when our fingers finally intertwined, something in the air settled. No fireworks. No drama. Just a quiet truth finding its place. "I don't know what this is," I said honestly. "I just know I don't want to forget it." "You won't," she said. "Neither will I." We stood there, both a little broken, both a little better for it. Her thumb brushed the back of my hand, a gesture so simple, it felt sacred. Then she leaned in, her forehead resting against mine. Her breath warmed the space between us. Maybe we don't have to fix everything, she whispered. Maybe we just stop pretending it's broken. I closed my eyes, the weight of her words sinking in. My other hand found her waist, not to pull her closer, just to say I was still there. For the first time, it didn't feel like crossing a line. It felt like finding balance in the mess we'd made. The rain kept falling. Somewhere outside, a car passed, headlights flashing through the window. 2 brief streaks of light that faded almost as quickly as they appeared. But inside it was warm. Quiet. Real. We didn't say goodbye this time. We just stayed, hands intertwined, silence finally meaning peace instead of distance. And in that stillness, for once, neither of us needed fixing. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?